You are welcome to yet another episode of HN What's Your Say? The #1 listening show, where we discuss real issues with real people like you. We are still featuring R. Kelly. Real name Robert Sylvester Kelly. Also known as the R&B King. Today we take a closer look at the legal battle surrounding R. Kelly, specifically his New York case where the court's interpretation of the law and the evidence presented have left many with questions about justice and fairness. Let's unpack this case by addressing some of the critical points that may have been misunderstood or misrepresented, and examining why there are significant concerns about the integrity of the charges and the process. One of the pivotal arguments in R. Kelly's New York trial was the use of the Inappropriate Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act or RICO Act. Traditionally, this law is used to prosecute organized crime groups like the Mafia. Prosecutors alleged that Kelly's entourage, including staff who packed his bags, booked his flights or handled his logistics, constituted a criminal enterprise. Interestingly, even during the New York appeal, one of the judges suggested that if the staff who packed his bags made sure he had his iPad to film underage women, this would constitute a RICO enterprise. The judge's argument was so far-fetched, and gladly, attorney Jennifer Bonjean responded perfectly well to this insanity, as we shall be playing back for you in a clip from the actual appeal hearing. But for now, let's take a step back and digest the prosecution's argument. Does coordinating travel or managing a celebrity's schedule and activities, which is a common service typical in the entertainment industry, equate to criminal activity? If so, this interpretation of the law could have far-reaching implications, criminalizing standard practices for countless artists, actors and athletes who rely on their staff to micromanage their lives. Should R. Kelly's employees be labeled as part of a criminal enterprise simply for performing their jobs where they accomplish legal tasks and nothing else? If anyone followed the government's description of a RICO enterprise, they would probably have to resign from their jobs just in case one of their co-workers or bosses is involved in any criminal scandals, even as a suspect. Because it looks like having a suspect within an organization meets their definition of a criminal enterprise, as opposed to the organization being rooted in crime as a common purpose. The government prosecutors have technically arrived at their own new definition of a RICO enterprise, and the courts of law have supported them in selling their new narrative as correct. This broad application of RICO, however, raises serious questions about fairness and the court's ability to serve justice to individuals indicted with this charge. It's essential to distinguish between holding someone accountable for proven wrongdoing and overextending the law to secure a conviction. Justice should be blind, impartial, and based solely on evidence presented in court, and not influenced by public opinion, media narratives, or prosecutorial overreach. R. Kelly, like any defendant, deserves a fair trial. The judge's suggestion about staff performing routine tasks being part of a criminal enterprise raises significant doubts about the fairness of this case. It's a stark reminder that the justice system must remain focused on evidence and adhere to the principles of fairness and impartiality.
So you have to remember, in Illinois, the age of consent is 17. It only becomes a federal crime if it's being videotaped. Now, do these people know what's happening in the bedroom? No. There is no evidence that
Wasn't there evidence that the staff made sure that in his backpack he had his iPad and recording equipment? The evidence doesn't show that?
It shows that people picked up his luggage. I mean, people pick up my luggage, I pick up other people's luggage. Am I responsible for what's in that luggage? It just takes this to the point of absurdity. We can't say an enterprise exists because unwitting employees are engaging in normal tasks that they do, particularly for high-profile people.
R. Kelly's case has far-reaching implications that go beyond the individual. It highlights the need for laws to be applied with care and precision. Expanding the definition of a criminal enterprise to include everyday tasks risks undermining the very principles of justice. Should the normal actions of celebrity staff, whether packing bags or booking flights, be scrutinized to this degree? And should their usual roles at work be twisted into evidence of a criminal enterprise? These are critical questions that demand immediate attention, not just for this case, but for the fairness and integrity of our nation's legal system. Meanwhile, the prosecution's case relied heavily on testimonies from individuals who described inappropriate relationships and exploitation. But here's the issue. Several witnesses had conflicting statements, and some had motivations that could raise doubts about their credibility. For example, financial incentives, prior relationships and personal grievances all factor into the reliability of a witness. It's important to acknowledge that everyone deserves a fair and impartial trial, and this includes scrutinizing witness testimonies to ensure they're truthful, consistent and free from coercion or external influence. In a case as high profile as this, where emotions and public opinion run high, the justice system must rise above societal pressure and adhere strictly to the principles of evidence and fairness. Before stepping into the courtroom, R. Kelly's guilt was seemingly already decided upon by the court of public opinion. Documentaries, media coverage and viral posts painted a picture of him that undoubtedly influenced jurors and the public alike to think he was already guilty. But should someone's guilt be determined by a Netflix series or a Twitter thread? The media's role in this case highlights a troubling trend where sensationalism takes precedence over facts. While the allegations against R. Kelly are serious and deserving of investigation, the presumption of innocence is a major pillar of the justice system. When the media becomes judge and jury, it undermines the fairness of the trial process and jeopardizes the very foundation of justice. In any criminal trial, the jury must determine guilt based on the standard of beyond a reasonable doubt. This means that the evidence must be so convincing that there's no reasonable alternative but to conclude guilt. However, the instructions given to the jury in R. Kelly's case arguably set a dangerous precedent. For instance, suggesting that routine tasks like carrying luggage could establish a criminal enterprise potentially blurred the line between legitimate support roles and illegal activity. This interpretation not only raises concerns about the fairness of R. Kelly's trial, but also about how future cases involving entertainers and their staff might unfold. R. Kelly's case isn't just about one individual. It has implications for the entire entertainment industry. If standard practices like hiring staff to manage logistics can be used as evidence of a criminal enterprise, then the door is open for other artists and entertainers to face similar charges under similar circumstances. Should every manager, assistant or driver fear legal repercussions simply for doing their job? And should prosecutors have the latitude to redefine standard business practices as criminal conduct to secure convictions? These are questions that extend far beyond this case and that call for a careful re-examination of how laws are applied. It's essential to distinguish between holding someone accountable for proven wrongdoing and overextending the law to secure a conviction. Justice should be blind, impartial and based solely on evidence presented in court. Not influenced by public opinion, media narratives or prosecutorial overreach. R. Kelly, like any defendant, deserves a fair trial. The application of the RICO Act in this case, coupled with questionable evidence and intense media scrutiny, raises doubts about whether justice was truly served. Regardless of how one feels about R. Kelly as a person, the integrity of our justice system depends on ensuring that every defendant is treated fairly, and that convictions are based on clear and convincing evidence. Justice should be impartial, fair and free from bias. Let's demand better and stay tuned to HN Newsroom. If you want to be featured in our video releases, send us your clips by emailing them to hnnewsroom242@gmail.com or use Google Drive for larger files. Be sure to include your name and any details you'd like us to know. We can't wait to showcase your contributions. That is all we had for you today on HN What's Your Say? To keep updated whenever we post a new video, subscribe to this channel now. Also remember to hit the bell icon and enable notifications. And feel free to share your opinions with us in the comment section below, and let us know if you would like us to publish your views in our next release. We value all our subscribers' opinions.